whenever news breaks during your day.
And number one whenever and wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man. How the heck are you? It is the Monty Show, live in Los Angeles for another 4 days. And then we're back to the great state of Utah. Jake?
Hello.
Are you homesick yet?
No.
No, of course, because you have your lovely girl here.
Home is where the heart is and stuff.
Yeah, we have to talk about, for sure, we have to talk about introducing the girl to the fam bam, like in all this awkward stuff.
And stuff.
We have a huge update on the awkward relationship with the Cooters.
The elders.
That we'll talk about coming up on the show. Is Zion Williamson perhaps the biggest bust in the history of the NBA? Bigger than Greg Oden.
Yes.
Is Zion Williamson, and I don't mean like in rotund size, like...
Well, if that was what we were talking about, he definitely would.
Boiler and stuff. We have definitely got to talk about this Zion Williamson story. And we have to talk about, like, there's all these crazy, like... I don't even know what the best way to put it is, but there's all these like, crazy... Like, can't get along, I hate you, you hate me, trade me somewhere, screw you because you didn't trade me somewhere stories in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that we've seen a season in the league with this much drama, but we'll talk about that. We'll update the SoCal trip, got up to Hollywood and the Sunset Strip yesterday. That was fun. We had a little daddy-daughter time yesterday.
Okay.
What?
Daddy-daughter time?
Yeah, we spent some quality time, in the car.
Okay, I don't know. I wasn't aware that I was a daughter, so.
Yeah, well, there you go. Dane, good morning to you. Greg Hawkins, sup? Good to see you, my friend, the TV star. Guys.
Hey, guys.
Tanner says good morning.
Hey, guys.
Good morning, Giggity. The Blind Swordsman says, morning, boys. I found a dude on Twitter who is a bigger casual than you guys. Just kidding.
You're casual.
He thinks we should trade Donovan over Rudy. What a joke, bro. Well, it's funny you bring that up. We should probably get into it. Let's talk. Let's start with the Utah Jazz today. I know that's a shocker. But, we wanted to just kind of talk through where the Jazz are and what our expectations are for the second half of the season. Because the Utah Jazz, obviously tipping off the season Friday, you have an interesting schedule coming up, a couple of big trips in the second half. What are your expectations for this team? Whether that's putting a win total on it, whether that is, just kind of the level of confidence you have that this team can win even a playoff series. I think those are very valid questions for Jazz fans, Jake. And I mean, what do you expect just in generality before we come up with a win total?
Yeah.
This team is 36-22, fourth in the West. Just a game and a half up on the red-hot Dallas Mavericks. So what do you expect for this team in the second half?
Yeah, I think starting in the second half, I would expect them to come out of the All-Star break, with more of a direction. I really felt like the first half, if you will, because again, it should be said, we're not at the halfway point of the season. Before we have this conversation, everybody needs to understand we're not at the halfway point of the season. We're well past the halfway point of the season. Just so we're all on the same page about that. But when I look at the first half of the season, as I'll call it, before the All-Star break, I really felt like this season before the All-Star break was full of adversity, was full of hurdles, was full of issues that this team hasn't really experienced before together. Like this grouping of guys that has been pretty successful up to this point, in terms of basketballing. You think about it, they're a team that has gotten to the second round several times, but now obviously the conversation has shifted to moving past that. So when you look at this time leading up to the All-Star break, I really felt like, the Jazz had kind of, they had a 4 or 5 game stretch here where you felt really good going into the All-Star break. You won some games, you
lost to the Lakers.
You lost to the Lakers, but you overall, I felt like they were in a better spot heading into the All-Star break. So coming out of the All-Star break, I really would expect at a minimum for this team to really be more organized mentally and culturally in the locker room and with the direction they're going. Like I would expect that, coming out of the All-Star break that that you're being rested and everything, that you would be playing better basketball, that you would be shooting the 3 ball at a higher percentage, that you would just be playing the best brand of Jazz basketball that we all know and love, which ultimately, to me, in my opinion, what that is, ball movement until you get that open look from 3, or you're running pick and roll and you're feeding Rudy in the lob game. Those are the 2 areas where I feel like sometimes the Jazz kind of get away from that. A lot of times I feel like Rudy's going to come up and set a pick. They're going to use that pick, but then they kind of get lost in this mud of offense. So I would expect coming out of the All-Star break, they'd be more organized. They'd be more intentional about the offense they're running. And then defensively, I feel like there just has to be more effort all around. Donovan has said several times heading into the break and over the break that, it starts with defense and he needs to put more effort in on both ends of the floor. So I would expect Donovan Mitchell to, play good defense, to put a lot of effort in, to be giving his level best. As for the team, that's my question. What does level best look like? What does level best on defense look like for a guy like Bogdanovich? What does level best look like for, your young guys in Forrest and Butler if he ever gets
Well, I don't know.
minutes?
What does that look like? I think one of the biggest questions is, will Quinn Snyder play the young guys?
Yeah.
And I think it's been one of the most hotly contested talking points amongst Jazz fans is, will Jared Butler get more minutes than Trent Forrest? Because it would seem very clear to me that the backup point guard spot on this roster is a huge question mark for the rest of this season, especially with Mike Conley's history of injury. When we jokingly say water's wet and Mike Conley's hurt in the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
well, if he gets hurt, you're going, point Don.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, at this point,
Which hasn't been bad. I think we haven't seen, up leading into the All-Star break was really the first time we had seen a ton of point Don, and I think that point Don is not bad for this basketball team. But I do agree with you that, you don't, I mean, this has been the debate with like LeBron for all these years, right? LeBron as a Cavalier, when they went and won that title, it was point Bron, and he was running the team, and that's what allowed them to have success. But that also changes the way you're going to run offense. So the Jazz, my point is that Donovan Mitchell is not LeBron James, right? Donovan Mitchell is not on his level. Nobody is. LeBron's like a greatest of all time guy. So for the Jazz, point Don, I think, is a really interesting conundrum. I want the ball in Donovan Mitchell's hands. I want him making decisions out there. He's the best player on the team. But at the same time, as we've talked about several times on this show over the last couple of weeks, Don has to make the correct decision based on what the defense gives him. And that right there, when he comes off the screen, do they show him a double team? He's got to pass that instead of keeping it.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of questions about, Donovan Mitchell. And there was another report over the weekend, which, again, the best thing that I can say is that I totally disagree with it, but that Donovan Mitchell is one of the 3 players, along with Damian Lillard and Zion Williamson, that are going to demand trades in the offseason. Mm-hmm. And I think for the Utah Jazz, in the current scenario we find this ball club in, that doesn't make a lot of sense for Donovan Mitchell to demand a trade.
Dangerous misinformation.
I don't see that happening yet. If this is a very quiet summer where not much goes on, okay, then I could see it happening next year. But I don't think Donovan Mitchell is a guy that's looking to demand a trade. And nothing he said in the interview with Tony Jones over the weekend that came out yesterday, nothing he said in that interview would make you believe that he's going to demand a trade. I mean, frankly, I think what we've seen out of Donovan Mitchell when he's talked to the media, and from what we've heard around NBA sources around the league, is that Donovan just wants to win. And I don't think there's any question that this franchise is in flux right now. There's a lot of change coming to the Utah Jazz in the next probably 6 months. So I think the next, this offseason, this summer is going to be critical to Don's long-term viability as a Jazz man.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
Yeah, but I don't see Donovan Mitchell demanding a trade right now. I don't see him saying, look, Ryan, look, Danny, look, Justin Zanuck, I'm out. I don't want to be here. I again will reiterate, everybody I've spoken to, and it's at least half a dozen people, have denied that Donovan Mitchell has ever told the Utah Jazz, hey, my brand's too big for Salt Lake City, or I'm too big a star to be here. nobody has ever heard that from Donovan Mitchell. All Donovan Mitchell has said is pretty much exactly what he said to Tony Jones, which is, I want to win multiple championships. All that matters is winning. Frankly, he's never said it's Rudy or me. That was reported over the All-Star break that Donovan was telling the Jazz that if, Rudy's here, I'm not. Like that, I don't believe that's ever happened.
Yeah.
I have not heard that even one time. I think the things that we have consistently heard, and Jazz sources have confirmed for us, is that Donovan Mitchell wants to win, and he has told them, I want to win multiple championships. And Ryan Smith told him, we're going to do everything we can do to make that happen. That we will spare no expense, and we are going to rebuild this team around you. And if I'm Donovan Mitchell, I'm thrilled with that.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely thrilled with that. So my whole point is that all this nonsense that, Don's demanding a trade and he's too big for the market, that's just not accurate.
Whoever came up with that shit need to be fired.
I think what the second half of the season is about is creating the superstar Donovan Mitchell. Mm-hmm. And I think you're already seeing that being on the ball gives him a lot more opportunity to impact the outcome of games. And when I say being on the ball, I don't mean shooting more. I mean, when you get over half court or, even if Mike Conley's out of the game, Don's bringing the ball up.
Yeah. Don's
initiating the offense. Don is driving, kicking. He's shooting a lot. He's shooting threes a lot. He's shooting threes very well. But what you're seeing is that Donovan Mitchell's influence on the floor is growing. So what will that lead to? More influence off the floor.
Right.
Is what that will lead to. So I think this is a very critical moment in time for the Utah Jazz. You have never had a star in the modern era of Jazz basketball. And maybe the right way to say that is post-Stockton and Malone. You have never had a star the caliber of Donovan Mitchell. Mm-hmm. And it would be a real shame if Danny Ainge and Ryan Smith couldn't figure it out to the point where Donovan Mitchell believes that he could win a championship here. Because right now, and whether you like this show or not, I've been telling you for 2 years this is not a championship team.
Yeah.
And it is not. And the roster construction has not changed almost at all. And frankly, up until the Joe Ingles trade, it hadn't changed at all.
Yeah.
In the core. And the Joe Ingles trade is the only move that really has impacted the regular rotation on this team.
Yeah.
But what impact, and the fact that he was injured likely didn't change the trajectory of that trade. Now, it changed what you were getting in return for him, but he was going to be traded anyway. It was not a significant move at the end of the day. I think that's what's frustrating.
Well, yeah, and I think there were people who were, I'm not going to say disappointed, but they were surprised by the Jazz lack of, deal making at the deadline. Honestly, that we've heard that, and I think that, it's funny that you say that the rest of the season is about making Donovan Mitchell, or turning him into the superstar that we all think that he can be and that he thinks he can be. I think that's spot on, and it's funny, like, it almost feels like the rest of this year, regardless of what their record is or how far they go into the postseason, it's like, this is like the last hurrah for this group. And then this summer, it's just going to get lit up. And I think that if you're Donovan Mitchell, obviously you're not worried about being traded, but I think that you're saying, okay, this is my time to kind of develop, because I understand that this roster for 2 years hasn't been championship caliber, and if I'm Donovan Mitchell, and this is what I try to do, put yourself in Don's shoes. You are somebody who works with Chris Brickley consistently, which has opened up your game and brought you a skill set that allows you to dominate and take over games.
Yep.
So how can you take that skill set and leverage it to get your front office to bring you talent to win a championship? And that's what's happening.
Well, and I think the other thing is I don't believe that it's 100% incumbent on Don to do that on his own. I think that Donovan Mitchell does everything that you want Donovan Mitchell to do. And again, for better or for worse, whether you believe he shoots too much, whether you want to pick Rudy over Donovan, whatever your thought process is, you cannot leave Donovan hanging on an island to develop himself. You have to clearly communicate expectations. Same thing for Rudy Gobert. If you are not clearly communicating to Rudy Gobert, we need you to develop more of an offensive skill set.
Yeah.
Whether that is you want him to shoot a mid-range, whether that is, hey, we need you to play back to the basket, which is what I would have him do. I would be having him build the ability to dribble, the ability to, I would have him all day long working on catching the lob, catching that ball into the post, feed the post, work with your back to the basket. Just give me a turnaround. It infuriates me to no end to watch Rudy Gobert talk about and hear Rudy Gobert talking about wanting to participate in the three-point contest next year. That is ridiculous. Why? What is that going to do for a team that already is near the top in the league in three-pointers taken per game?
Come on, man.
What is that going to do for, like, those are the things that infuriate you. And how you apply that to how will this team finish, if this team's going to be a 55-win team, which I think is probably their max at this point, I think that would just be an incredible run to end the season.
Yeah.
If this team's going to go on some improbable, incredible run,
18 of 20.
If that's going to happen, if they're going to win 19 games the rest of the year, and having looked at the schedule last night, I think it's possible. If this team's going to win that kind of percentage, they are going to need Rudy Gobert to be his level best the entire rest of the way.
Yeah.
They are going to need the role players on this team to take a significant step forward. They will need guys like Royce. They're going to need Mike Conley to be as close to 100% as he can be the rest of the way, or they're going to fall behind the Mavericks, because the Mavericks don't have a difficult schedule.
Yeah.
And frankly, the way Luka's playing right now, he's in that mode where you feel like just about everything's going in. So if they're going to stay out of that 5 spot and have home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs, because right now I don't see any way that this team, frankly, it's just my opinion, I don't see any way that they catch the Memphis Grizzlies, because the Grizzlies are a full 4 games ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have to win just about every game.
You'd have to play like 900 basketball. You just would.
Yeah. And I just think when you've played 58 games of 82, I think that I think that makes it very difficult.
Yeah, and I think that the Grizzlies, it's no secret the Grizzlies are a young team as well. They're obviously maturing and they're a damn good team now, but my point is that they have young legs on them. I mean, they're not going to run out of gas, or they're not going to, the injury stuff isn't going to come to that team as much as it would to the Jazz, just based on age and mileage. And I think that that's no slight to the Jazz. I think that's just the reality of the situation right now. And this is something that we've been talking about and that the Jazz have been addressing most of the year. I mean, again, we can't forget. I know it seems so long ago at this point, but you can't forget, heading into the season, what was the mantra on Mike Conley? He's not playing back-to-backs, whether we're going to rest him on the front half and play him on the back or vice versa. He's not playing those back-to-backs early in the year. And so, I look at what's going down in Phoenix. Chris Paul's going to miss a significant amount of time, like 6 to 8 weeks with this hand thing. And I don't want Mike Conley to suffer that same fate because they ran him into the ground trying to play, 850 or 900 basketball so that they can keep home court advantage. I mean, I think your best option as a team right now is to play the best basketball you can, of course, but it's no secret to Jazz fan, this team has to be healthy in the first postseason series to really have any chance. You can't be playing without Mike Conley or, without Don, for example, or whatever, without any of the mainstays on this team. So I think if I'm the Jazz, the rest of the way, Quinn Snyder down. I think it's a different view for the front office. But Quinn Snyder down in the day-to-day, I'm prioritizing health. I'm prioritizing making sure that we're not going too hard in practice, but we're also getting our prep good. Being strategic with how much mileage you're putting on these guys, so that when the moment arrives, when you're playing the Clippers at Crypto.com
when the
Arena,
moment arrives, you don't
ready.
need Cialis.
Yeah, dude, you're ready. That's what has to happen this year. And I think
that was a dick pill joke I just made, and you didn't even stop or hesitate.
I'm right in the heat of my take, and you're making dick pill jokes.
That is true. I am.
Sorry if you're offended by that.
Yeah, suck it. The point is,
wow.
The other thing that I think is really important that we have to talk about here is they're going to have to find a way to be better defensively. And you know who I'm going to talk about? Donovan Mitchell has to continue to play defense the way he did on that last homestand.
Well, and I think he's embracing it now.
Yeah, his defense was significantly better.
Yeah.
Significantly better. And if it is true that while he was injured and out, that he spent a lot of time in self-reflection and, supposedly, and I thought one of the great things that came out of that article was, Tony Jones of The Athletic, and if you don't subscribe to The Athletic and you don't read Tony, I think you're crazy. But he kind of confirmed a couple of things that we had reported, that Donovan does his best development on his own. He is a guy who spends a lot of time by himself, thinking, being with his thoughts, being with his feelings. Like, he's not somebody who reaches out and is like, hey, bro, I'm really struggling with my defense. Talk me through. Like, Donovan is a big picture thinker in his own mind. And I think we've always known, well, recently we've known that. And I think one of the things we've seen is that his defensive want to has been significantly higher since he was injured. Mm-hmm. And since he was not able to play that stretch of games with the concussion, I think his defensive want to has gotten much better. And I think what you're seeing is part of that is, I do think this rub with Rudy Gobert has changed him. I think this situation where he and Rudy, it's out in public knowledge now.
Yeah, it's not a question.
I mean, it's no longer just us telling you that those two don't have a relationship. And again, it's not that they hate each other. They don't have a relationship.
I'm going to say this again.
So when a guy that you don't like is pointing the finger at you, mm-hmm. it's going to sting you a little harder. And I think that's part of what happened here. I don't, by any stretch of the imagination, want you to conflate the idea that I'm saying what Rudy did worked, because I think what Rudy Gobert did not work. I think Rudy calling guys out in the locker room, pointing at Royce O'Neal on the floor in the Laker game the other night, was a huge mistake. I think that Rudy really undermined a lot of the good things that he had built on this team by doing that. Rudy has to be a better teammate than that. But I think what it's done is it's put Donovan into a place where he's stepped up a little bit here into leadership. And I think one of the things he realizes very clearly is you cannot lead when you don't act. You cannot lead without the ability to demonstrate that leadership.
Performance is everything. Let's be really clear about
it.
This.
It is.
It's
but
everything.
When it's defensive.
Yeah.
Offense, nobody's questioning Donovan Mitchell. Nobody. His offensive game is without question.
Yeah.
He's the best offensive player that you've had for 20 years.
Yeah.
You look at his defense, and as a lot of listeners on the show have talked about, and viewers on the show have mentioned, Donovan's effort on defense is consistently questioned because it's weak ass.
Yeah.
It's weak ass. And I think over that last homestand, we saw two things. He absolutely stepped his effort up on defense. And some of that was Rudy was not in the game with this calf injury. Mm-hmm. But I also think that we're seeing Donovan Mitchell understanding, hey, this is who I am and this is where I am. If I want to get to that next level, and if I'm going to be the guy, because the other thing I've consistently heard is that Donovan Mitchell realizes he's got to be the guy to pull the team.
Yes.
He's got to pull the rope along.
Yes.
He knows that now. And he knows that, but he's also embraced that. Mm-hmm. And so I think what you're seeing is Donovan passing more because he knows he's got to get everybody else involved more.
Well, and I think at the core, he's making the choice that we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Making the choice of, hey, no matter what it is, whether it's the passing, whether it's the defense, whether it's teammate relations, let's say, he's making the choice to say, okay, it really isn't up to me whether I am or I am not the leader. I am the leader. It has been like it is me whether I like it or not, basically. So I need to make the choice to embrace that and lead this team and pull this team along. And I think that what's so exciting about that for me is and I know we compare them all the time, and you guys do too, but we saw this same process play out in Phoenix with Devin Booker. Literally the exact same process. Booker was criticized to no end for his defense. He was criticized to no end for his lack of of the clutch gene in the postseason, his first go around with it. Like there was a lot of stuff said about Devin Booker, but then what do you get? You see him making a choice to play better defense.
Yes.
You see him in the summer putting all this time into his body so that, he doesn't have to deal with a meniscus thing or this or that. And so then what happens? He makes that choice, just like Donovan's made that choice. And then his front office goes out and brings in Chris Paul, just like we surmise and hope that the front office will go out this summer and make a big move. And that's why it's so exciting to me to see the parallels between these two. Are they rivals, or are they, two teams that contend for the Western Conference? Well, yes, of course. But I think when you look at, as a Jazz fan, when you look at where this team is going, right, even if they get bounced out of the postseason in the first round this year, let's say, there are still a ton of positives around what this team is doing. And I think you can't lose sight of that, because there is this, I feel like Jazz fans do sometimes operate with a cloud over their head. And you got to understand, this is a process to get to where you want to go.
But I still think that this is not a championship caliber team.
No.
And you can't win, and this is just my opinion, but you cannot win a championship with Rudy Gobert's situation.
And again, it should be said, this show has been saying that for like 2 years now. I mean, it's not a secret, and the league agrees with it now. And the front office clearly agrees with it now. Now, will they make a trade with Rudy involved? I don't know, but I think they understand at a minimum, if Rudy's going to be on this team, they got to have a ton more talent on the wing.
Which you can't do when you're paying Rudy Gobert 35% of your salary cap.
So that's the conundrum.
Yeah, so it's difficult. Listen, I think there's no doubt that there's a lot of questions to be asked and answered in the offseason. And I maintain, I think you're probably 60-40 going to make a change with Quinn Snyder. I think stylistically, I think that's the other part of the conversation with this roster that we haven't had yet. In the second half, your style has to change, right? With these last, 25 games, if you're really going to go 19-5, because I think that's their maximum. I think that's absolutely the best record this team could hope for.
Right.
That Suns game on Sunday is a must-win.
Huge.
No Chris Paul. He's out 6 to 8 weeks with a broken thumb.
Got to have it.
That's a must-win, right? But if you're going to go 19-5, you can't keep playing the way you've been playing. You cannot continue to feed out all the defense into Rudy Gobert. He's a great player. He's a great defender. I get it. But this team has to be individually better defensively.
Yeah.
And I don't know that 90% of the guys on this roster are capable. I think one of the real questions is, what adjustments is Quinn Snyder going to come out of the All-Star break with? How many more minutes is Eric Paschall going to get? Because I just don't think at this point you can count on Rudy Gay to be a go.
Yeah.
I think that Rudy has been dealing with heel and knee issues.
Even when he has been a go, though. I mean, it's not like Rudy Gay has been some firecracker off the bench.
Well, he shot the three really well. I mean, he's fit into what you do offensively, but defensively has been the biggest question.
That's not why let's remember this, though. I think this is an important point. You didn't bring Rudy Gay here to shoot the three. You brought him here to play small ball at the 5.
I would agree.
That's his purpose on this roster. Do I agree that he shot the 3 well? Well, yeah, absolutely. When he was healthy, he was shooting the 3 well, and he gave them a nice little pop while he was available. But I think that, Eric Paschall's toughness and his willingness to take the hard foul, his willingness to fight for the rebound, that a lot of guys on this team are not willing to fight for. I would love to see Paschall get somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes a night. No, not more than 20, but 15 to 20, anywhere in there, I think is the sweet spot.
Especially against a team like Phoenix is a really good example. You're going to have to figure out how to beat Phoenix with Rudy off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem is that they run so many different kind of centers at you. If that's Bismack Biyombo on the low block, okay, Rudy's got a place. I think he can handle, obviously, DeAndre Ayton.
Mm-hmm.
But when they go to that smaller lineup and you see everybody from Jay Crowder to, you see all these guys passing out of the post, it makes it difficult for Rudy to have a real effective place in the lineup.
Well, and they just brought Torrey Craig back
and
to Phoenix.
I think that guys again, I will just look at their 3 best players. Now, Chris Paul's out 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, throw him out. Look at their 2 best players, Mikal Bridges and Devin Booker, right? You don't have a defensive answer. And on offense, both of those guys, Devin Booker has stepped his offensive game up significantly.
Yeah.
Right? So you ask yourself now, well, what's the matchup? how do you, if you are the Utah Jazz, how do you deploy offense to beat what the Suns do defensively? I don't think you have that because they're quicker and they're stronger than you, and they shoot the three at pretty much the same level that you do.
Yeah.
And the other issue is if you're going to use Rudy in the high screen and roll, they have the bodies to defend that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this game is so critical. Without Chris Paul, it gives you a chance to beat the Suns and feel good about yourself.
Well, in that high pick and roll game you talk about would be, and again, not to rain on Rudy's parade, but this, when you're playing really good teams, this is where that elbow jumper we always talk about would be really, really nice to have out of Rudy Gobert, because then think about it. You've got Don with the ball at the top of the key. Rudy comes and set the pick. He uses the pick, and now he's got options, and the defense doesn't know what he's going to do. Imagine a world where DeAndre Ayton has to respect Rudy's jumper from the elbow, not a three, but just a quick little elbow push shot or jumper. And, he's got to respect that as a defender. So now he's playing Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert with his helper trailing behind the play. That is what breeds great NBA offense. And so when you don't have the jumper, DeAndre Ayton suddenly is not so scared of shading towards Donovan Mitchell, knowing he can get back. And that's why I say when you're watching these games, it's not just that Rudy can't shoot or he doesn't really have an offensive game. It's how that affects the Jazz and what the defense does to the Jazz. That's really what you got to look for.
Their role players are exceptional.
Yeah.
The Phoenix Suns, they run three centers at you, Ayton, JaVale, and Bismack. You look at what they're getting from a guy like a Cam Johnson who puts up 15 on Milwaukee in that win.
They've brought a guy like Cam Johnson to life. Cam, ESPN.
Yeah,
running again.
Man.
Come on.
Auto ads.
Come on. But look what they did with a guy like a Cam Johnson, and even Cam Payne. I mean, both of those guys are guys who, they drafted Cam Johnson. They've developed him and brought him along. Cam Payne is a guy who was almost out of the league. Like, people didn't want this guy. They signed him for a pretty cheap contract, and now all of a sudden he's giving them whatever. I'd have to look at his season averages, but typically, he's a 10 to 15 point a night guy. He can do that for you.
And even when he's been injured, they've been able to adjust to that.
Yeah.
Even, because you're getting a few minutes out of Peyton. You're getting a few minutes. You're stealing a few minutes here and there. And you're getting, again, this is who the Jazz need to become.
Yeah.
Developers of young talent, really good veterans. What the Suns get out of JaVale McGee, that's the difference maker.
Yeah, it's wild.
And by the way, what do the Suns have that the Jazz don't? They have guys who have won rings. Mm-hmm. They have guys who've competed at the top of the league. Like, even just having JaVale McGee, now that your whole roster essentially has been through the NBA Finals and run through the Western Conference, and you've been in big moments, it's naturally going to make you better.
Yeah.
So anyway, here nor there, let's get some of your comments in here because I know that there's a lot of you here. Appreciate that. Please give us a thumbs up. You guys have really supported this show. Hitting like on our videos makes a huge difference because it puts it out there in the algorithm. More people see the videos when you like and give us a thumbs up. So please do that. We are rapidly approaching 5,000 followers on TikTok, as well as 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. When we get there, we're going to give away an Xbox, we're going to give away a PS5 that's back at the crib.
You're sitting at home waiting for someone.
Also, by the way, don't forget, Jake's going to hold up our You're a Casual t-shirt. That is available to you for $25. Just DM us. We have a full size range available. All the way from small, because a lot of people asked us about smalls. Smalls all the way up to 3X are available in the You're a Casual shirt. Just DM Jake or I. Jake is SLC Supercars on all social platforms. You can find me, The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show.
Do it.
So let's talk. Jeremy Bolton says, "Sup, fellas, you're missing some epic snow here in Utah." I know. Of course, Jeremy, we leave and what happens, it snows. Bummer. The Blind Swordsman says, I found a dude on Twitter who is a bigger casual than you. Just kidding. He thinks we should trade Donovan over Rudy.
You're casual.
I mean, there's a lot of people. I think the thing that you need to understand is there's a lot of people that would rather have Rudy than Donovan.
Wow.
And I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think I've covered this league a long time, and I'm telling you now that you don't win championships in 2022 and beyond with centers who don't have an offensive game.
Too bad.
You know, like you win centers with elite wings, and that's what Donovan Mitchell is. Donovan Mitchell, I just cannot tell you how special of a talent he is. And he's not been in an atmosphere where he's been wholly developed.
Yeah.
His growth has been largely on his own. And I'm telling you now, I think Donovan Mitchell is the one that gets away from you if he leaves here.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to happen. I think 5 years from now, Donovan will still be a Utah Jazz man.
We'll see.
I do. Because I believe in Ryan Smith and Danny Ainge. I believe that they will do what needs to be done to get him to stay here. And I think this offseason, this summer, will determine if my belief is that you can win 2 or 3 championships in the next 5 years. That'll be determined this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And Donovan's fate and future will be determined this summer. Rudy's fate and future will be determined this summer. And if you choose Rudy Gobert, I think you are choosing a pain train.
Yeah. Because
Don will not be here long term.
Yeah.
I think you need to build this roster around him. So I don't disagree with you, Blind Swordsman, at all. Tau Unga says, hella snowy here in Utah. Thank you. Brylark says, what's up, boys? Can't wait till Rudy isn't on the roster. Edgar Garcia says, you're alive. Good morning, players.
Hello.
Hello. Steve Hambone says, good morning, guys. Let's go, Jazz. I think we're going to go for a winning streak to the playoffs. I think 19-5.
Well, I think
is your best, highest result.
I think what everyone's hoping for and what all the media is talking about is the 2018 team.
Yes.
And what that team did. And I'm telling you that this team can do what that team did, but it's not good enough just to be healthy. It's not good enough just to have all your guys on the floor and roll up and think that that's going to be good enough. I got news for you. The Western Conference is better now than it was then. Teams are playing better basketball even without the Jamal Murrays of the world, right? You're playing better basketball even without Anthony Davis, as you guys found out the other night. So,
who?
Yeah, no.
Anthony.
What? See, why do you
Street
why do
clothes
you do
Davis
this to me? You know, why do you do this to me? Now I got to go and find it.
After the street closed Davis?
You're welcome.
Thank you. So my point just is this team can do what the 2018 team did, but it's going to take a very strategic and intentional strategy out of Quinn Snyder and this roster to do what that team did.
They're going to have to get exponentially younger and more lateral movement.
And they're going to have to shoot the 3 ball the rest of this year at 40%. Like,
Yeah.
if they need to do that.
I don't see that happening. I just don't. And Garcia says the Jazz have never really been known for playing the young guys. I would agree with that. Conley and Chris have the same issues. Jeremy Bolton says they do.
Agreed.
And Garcia says Donovan, no D. Mitchell, and Zion, if he gets healthy, will be in New York in under 5 years.
No D. Mitchell.
Yeah, I disagree with that. Are there any groups or organizations that would benefit from Donovan leaving Utah? Because could those groups be putting this out there to try and force Donovan out? I think one of the things that is an issue for Donovan Mitchell is that, and he talked about this on the Chris Haynes podcast, it was not well received when he spoke up for voter rights in this state.
Mm-hmm.
It has not been well received when he has talked about issues facing minorities in the community.
Facts.
And you know, it's funny, we've talked about this a lot. One of the things that is interesting about living in Utah is when you visit a place like California for 2 weeks and you see brown skin and you see, you know, Latinos, you see blacks, you see Asians, you see this wonderful mix of cultures.
This is fucking America.
That you don't see in Utah, and you realize just how white of a state and a region that Salt Lake City is.
Yep.
And you understand why when Donovan sees things that, you know, he wants to be involved in the community, and then everybody pushes back against him, and he sees the Utah Jazz trying to serve underserved communities with scholarships, and you see people pushing back against that, it would be frustrating for him. He is a proud black man.
Come on, man.
And he's trying to make an impact in our community, and there's a large swath of our community who doesn't want him to have an impact. There's a large swath of our community that would love him to shut up and dribble.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that's a huge part of why he would leave here.
Sorry if you're offended by that.
I still think the biggest factor in him leaving here is that he wants to win. But when we talk about, well, nobody will sign here as a free agent, how do you think it looks to other black NBA athletes when They see a state like Utah that's got tons of stereotypes about it, and they see a young black star trying to have an impact in his community, and they see an organization that is moving mountains to send underprivileged communities to college.
Yeah.
And the rest of the community is pushing back.
It's not a good look.
It's not a good look at all.
Yeah.
And
It's not a good look.
you understand that this is not just about, well, guys won't sign here. Because there's a large part of the guys won't sign here community pushing back against Donovan and pushing back against the organization trying to give out scholarships to underprivileged communities.
Okay, so that's how it's going to be.
Which are largely minorities.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just this whole conversation. For NBA players anymore, you look at the brightest stars in this league, a lot of them are East Coast ballers. A lot of them are Kevin Durant from D.C. A lot of them are LeBron from Akron. A lot of them are Donovan from New York, right? Like his roots are in New York now, right? I mean, that's his home essentially. So you understand why he wants to be a Knick or a Net, but that doesn't mean he's going to actively fight his way out.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, there are very few situations in this league where you get to play in your hometown, and Ayo Dosunmu with the Bulls, or, you know, like Kevin Durant could have gone to D.C. He didn't. He went to Brooklyn.
Why do you think D-Wade wanted to be a Bull?
You know,
for
like,
a minute?
I just think that when you're Donovan Mitchell, that you have a set of circumstances that would frustrate you. If put yourself, and I don't know how many people in our audience can even do it, but put yourself in a 20-something black man's body, put yourself in his life, and understand that it's about winning and impacting the community.
Yeah.
And you're not really allowed to do either one. And you really don't have control over anything but what's happening on the basketball court, and you don't decide wins and losses.
Yeah. So
I mean,
what do you decide?
I think you have to have some empathy for where Don is. And I think Utah is, listen, I have said this openly. We choose to live in Utah. I can live anywhere I want to live. I make good money. I can afford to live anywhere I want to live. I choose to live in Salt Lake City because it's a great place to live.
Yeah.
But there are some challenges just like anywhere else, and Donovan is dealing with that.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it. It is what it is. Poor Man's Ride says Donovan must learn how to be LeBron playoff.
Yeah, I think
I don't
that
disagree
there's
with that.
credence to that.
Positive Takes Only says the Jazz need to mix things up. And Garcia says Tanner Plummer, all talking heads for the Jazz will tell you over and over that they will have an excellent player development program. They do not have an excellent player development program. Hey, D. Will was amazing in my opinion.
Yeah, but like I think Darren Williams was like
a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I mean Darren Williams is not even anywhere close to what Donovan Mitchell is to this organization, in my opinion.
And Coach and Darren Williams, I mean, look, Jerry was a difficult guy to play for if you were bucking the system. And I think Darren was bucking the system. There's no doubt about that.
Was he fun to watch? Hell yeah. That crossover was still fire, even as a Brooklyn Net, dude. Like,
yeah, it was fun to watch him play.
Like, he's a fun player to watch, but he's not Donovan Mitchell.
Jeremy Bolton says, also can't wait to talk about Draymond's insecurities about Rudy Gobert. Like, what is his deal? Whether he's better than Rudy or not, why is he obsessed and weird about it? I think Rudy Gobert has a lot of enemies around the NBA.
I think
good or bad.
That Draymond Green has all of you fooled. I think that he has everybody fooled. I think Draymond Green, one of the best abilities he has is to get in your head and have you thinking about him rather than thinking about your dog crap shooting percentage from the free throw line or anything that you control. And I think that Draymond Green understands that the Warriors have a decent chance of running into the Jazz and that all this is going to come back and Rudy's going to be concerned about what Draymond's been saying off the court instead of playing good defense. And that's what I think.
Which has been a problem for Rudy historically.
And that's what I think Draymond is actually doing. I don't think that Draymond is obsessed or some like weird guy.
Not at all.
Draymond has won championships. Draymond is the core of that team. Dude, he knows what he's doing.
He knows how to win the mental game. He's an old school player.
Yes.
He is a 90s, late 80s, 90s player.
Yes.
He'd have dominated in that era, and he dominates now. But
yes.
I think he understands the game. He
Yes.
really does. The blind swordsman DS says, see, they need to hold on to Donovan and get rid of Rudy and build around Donovan. I agree with that. Poor Man's Ride says, Donovan must learn how to be LeBron in the playoffs. I can see that he can possibly be a smaller version of LeBron to facilitate play, and he will have to do that.
Yeah.
You know, like he will have to do that. The Donovan bubble is killing playoff LeBron. I don't know. LeBron James is probably the best basketball player in the world right now. I mean, like he is. The way LeBron's playing is.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe what he's doing. Tanner says Rudy wants to be in the 3-point contest. You see, this is why no one respects him outside of Utah, because he says and does stupid things.
Yeah, it's just an asinine thing to say.
And I don't know if he was. You know, a lot of people have said, well, he was kidding, he was joking. I actually don't think he was.
Yeah, and that's what we do now.
I think he is desperate to show people he can shoot. Desperate. But yet he gets in a game, and I have not seen him hit rim with a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
Like, I think he it's just not who he is. Man, he's an old dog at this point. You're not going to change those spots. You're just not. Like,
well, and I think it was, with all due respect to Rudy, I think it was a pretty big slap in the face to watch Karl Anthony Towns do what he did in that 3-point contest. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns lit it up, dude. And I think that it is, again, like, call me a Rudy hater, but if I'm Rudy Gobert, like, I'm kind of upset by that. Not that I have an issue with Cat per se, but like I'm upset by the idea a big man went in and did what he did. Like, I would be upset by that if I was Rudy Gobert. I'd be saying, damn, like, I need to start shooting more. I need to do, like, I would take that personally, you know?
Well, and I think Cat is the prototypical big man. I mean, I think Joel, you know, if we're going to talk about bigs being successful in this league, like,
all three of them,
I think, I don't even know, like Jokic, Joel,
those three,
and Cat.
Those three are on a different pedestal of bigs, and then it's everybody else, in my opinion. Honestly, even a lot of people say, well, DeAndre Ayton's got a really nice shot. He's got a really nice back to the basket game. Yeah, but he doesn't have the game that Cat and Joel have right now. I mean, those two particularly are dynamic.
Joel's on
players,
another planet, too.
Yeah, like honestly, like.
Edgar Garcia says, if you want to pick Rudy over Don, you clearly haven't seen Luka's mom. Exactly.
Well, you know, yeah.
You're casual.
Obviously. Yeah. Do you even watch Jazz games?
You know. Donovan No D Mitchell is O- every game winner, 0 for every game winner attempted, and why Quinn keeps calling his number in game-winning situations is ridiculous. Well, who else are you going to give the ball to?
Who are you going to give it to?
Well, I mean, you do have Buckets O'Neal.
I mean, it's
Please stop calling him Buckets O'Neal.
Yeah.
He's a bum.
Stop. I bet Rudy was saying he wants to be in the 3-point contest, totally tongue-in-cheek, Jeremy says. Poor Man's Ride says Donovan must learn to be, yeah, and we talked about that. JP Shanahan says Don missed the All-Star game. I hope it's nothing serious. Yeah, it's a non-COVID illness. I don't know what that means.
Otherwise known as stay off your feet and rest, because we're going to need you.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. And Garcia says maybe even Conley. Donovan No D Mitchell has gone from horrible D to subpar D. Well, I'd actually disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think he's played significantly better defense.
Yeah.
He has played very good defense over that last homestand. So I disagree with you on that. Poor Man's Ride says, I hope Quinn will learn to adjust in-game situations, specifically the fourth quarter. We all know who will play at the end, so we're preparing matchups against 5 players who start. I don't disagree with that at all. I agree with that. Again, why not push Donovan No D Mitchell to be our shoot first point guard and look for a third 3 and D too? Because we don't have numbers on guys anymore.
Yeah.
Donovan plays 3 positions.
LeBron changed that. You need to understand that.
Like LeBron's ability to play point all the way through center. You're looking at Donovan Mitchell as a point guard, or I think Donovan Mitchell, I think what you need is a dynamic number 2 to Donovan Mitchell, and he becomes a superstar. You need somebody, like right now, why wouldn't you double Donovan?
Well, you would.
Like,
that's what the Clippers essentially did. They said, hey, we're going to double Don, and you're going to have to force the ball to someone else, and the Jazz didn't make those shots. I think we've seen
outside of that one quarter, because remember that, what was that, the first quarter of the playoffs?
Yeah.
In that playoff game where they shot like 8,600% from three, where they didn't miss a shot.
I think, was that the Clipper series?
That was the
first
Clipper
game?
series,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, they shot the lights out, but I think, and this is kind of this is sort of the next level when you talk about NBA analytics and like how NBA teams go about it. Like the Clippers understand, okay, yeah, they may go on a run here where they shoot 10 of 12 from 3, where they make 10 of 12 and they're out to a 25-point lead, and everyone's going to say this strategy is trash. But then we know that they're going to come back to earth in the second half, which is what happened. If you remember, because let's not forget, they were out to a big lead in the first half. The Clippers stuck that strategy out, reeled them back in, and won the game. And that's why I'm saying, like, I think that the double down thing is real. The Jazz don't have an answer for that.
Well, and you got to get more out of Bojan Bogdanović. I mean, if this team's going anywhere, it won't be Rudy and Don. It's going to be a guy like Bojan Bogdanović stepping up.
Yeah.
Because the thing that worries me about Mike Conley is I think Mike has just slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mike Conley is having a lot of trouble in the paint. And he's doing well with that push shot, but I think Mike Conley has slowed down.
I feel like you've seen that with a couple of guys on the roster.
I think Royce O'Neal the turnovers with Royce, I think you can't count on Jordan Clarkson.
Yes.
Bojan Bogdanović is the guy that has to step up.
Mm-hmm.
And for him, when I say step up, you've got to feature him in certain sets. You have got to work offense to get him a 3. Because I still don't love him going to the basket. I think it's imperative he do it. I don't love him going to the basket. He's just not polished as a finisher.
Mm-hmm.
And he's getting there because he's long. He understands how to use his shoulders to create space, draw the foul. But if this team's going to win, he's got to be 50 points against the Blazers last year, Bogdanović.
Yeah.
And Bojan's not been that guy.
Yeah.
And that worries me a little bit. And I think some of that is the offense has really struggled to run sets. They just haven't run until that last homestand. They hadn't been running offense.
But you see what happens when they do. And this is why I say, like we can talk about Donovan or we can talk about this player or that player, but ultimately it's going to come down to Quinn Snyder giving this team direction and telling them, hey, we've got to do X, Y, and Z on offense to get the higher percentage look. And that's the way I like to say it. The Jazz have to work hard to get high percentage looks because that's ultimately what the NBA is about.
I agree. Make sure you go ahead and give us a thumbs up and like. Really appreciate you guys being here. Hit subscribe when we get to 5,000 subscribers, and I think we're already
meteorically rising.
We picked up 100 in the last 3 days, and I don't know how we did it, but we're at 3251. So I mean, we're rapidly growing on TikTok. Our TikTok contest is working great. We picked up 600 something followers over the weekend. We're at 3759. So yeah, so we're that PS5 is we're giving that away quick. So please make sure that you hit subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and let's talk about the biggest bust in NBA history. So you know that the New Orleans Pelicans,
the Pels,
traded for CJ McCollum, and they sent out Josh Hart. And everybody was excited. You're going to pair this guy with Zion Williamson, and Chubbs is going to get better, and Brandon Ingram, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
How do you think CJ McCollum and Zion Williamson's first conversation went?
I'm a carb eating motherfucker.
They haven't had one yet.
Oh.
CJ McCollum and Zion Williamson, according to reports, have not spoken.
And I ain't giving up no damn Rice Krispie treats.
It's been a couple of weeks, and you have not spoken. I'm telling you, Zion Williamson's a huge bust.
Yep.
Not only is he not physically in shape, not only is he out for the year with this broken foot, he just is turning out to be an asshole. Like, it sounds like the guy loves him some Zion and is not dedicated to winning. And it is...
How about dedicated to playing?
It is remarkable to me that this guy has just been an absolute... It's not remarkable, and I feel like I say this too much. I told you this guy was going to be a fucking bust.
Yeah.
We've talked about this for a long time.
We had an epic debate when Ja and Zion were coming into the draft. Epic debate about who was going to be the better player. And everybody was like, you guys are idiots. That Zion's going to be the next LeBron. It's like, no, dude. Nope.
Hey, man.
Nope.
Go.
No skill set. No leaping ability does not make you a great basketball player, right? The ability to dunk in high school games and the ability to dunk at Duke didn't make you a great player. Could you dominate those levels doing that? Well, yeah, sure, because you're physically imposing. What was the first thing that people noticed when he came into the league? Well, all of a sudden, Zion can't jump the same way he used to. What happened?
Yeah, and CJ McCollum said when he was asked about his relationship with Zion and does he know him, he said, I haven't had conversations with him directly. I'm sorry, I thought you said you haven't, like he has not spoken to him.
How is that even possible if you're Zion Williamson, bro?
This is a code kind of board.
Jake. The sex bots are in. The sex
crisis lockdown mode here at the
house. The sex bots are in, bro.
Come on.
Son of a biscuit on whole wheat.
Dude.
Yeah, it's rough.
We were having such a good show. The internet has been on. Like, everything's been good.
Yeah, how about our internet getting fixed?
I don't hear all the audio work today, casual people out there.
Yeah. Rumors are the Jazz are going after Kent Bazemore.
Neat.
Give me Alfonso McKinney before Kent Bazemore.
Yeah, all day.
We know what Kent Bazemore is, and it ain't much. Justin Saul says, I said from day one, Zion was not going to live up to the hype.
Yeah.
He was too big to move like he was moving, and if he lost weight, his main advantage, size and weight, would disappear. I think Zion has a lot of talent. And if Zion is a guy that gets down to 260, 255, because he's over $3 bills now, if he gets, he's going to have to lose 25, 30, 40 pounds to play in this league, to be consistently healthy, because your best ability
is your availability.
And he's not available because he's got knee, he's got foot, he's got lower body injuries because he's too big.
Facts.
So you're in a situation now where you built your franchise around this guy, and now you're unwinding that process.
Facts.
And I think he is going to be gone over the summer. He will. I don't think he ever plays for the New Orleans Pelicans again.
Now, on the other side of it, really quick before we leave this, I love the idea of Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum playing together. I think that will be fun. I think if you're the Pelicans, it may not result in like a ton of wins, but I think that if you're the Pelicans, you understand who you are and where you are, and you understand that Brandon Ingram needs to spend time around guys who have done things in the league. And yes, CJ McCollum hasn't won a championship, but damn if he hasn't been in the postseason a ton, and damn if he can't teach you something, And I think that ultimately is what the trade is about.
And Garcia says, why would they speak if he's nowhere near the team? Well, because they're teammates, and he is.
And he's Zion Williamson.
He's a big part of that organization.
Yeah.
And he's around the team all the time.
Yeah.
So, and Garcia says, I also heard he cut his shoe for hype in a shoe contract. I don't know. That would be ridiculous if he did that. I don't know if he did or not. I doubt he did.
Sounds so college, dude.
Glad your casual audio is working today. Well played, Jeremy Bolton says.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate that.
Yeah, casual.
By the way, I don't know if anybody saw over the weekend. People were talking about that. A certain guy named Alex Caruso was the most important player for the Bulls to get back.
He's a brilliant guy.
I mean, I know he sucks, Jeremy, but
I want you to listen to me.
Zion has probably been training with James Harden, training table cheese fries. Seriously, Jeremy. Seriously. I think he, like, if you look at Greg Oden, Portland Trailblazers.
That's the guy I think of when I think
Ohio
of Zion,
State.
Dude. I mean, there isn't a laundry list of biggest busts in the
guy
NBA,
that the Cavs drafted that went to the Timberwolves? Oh, man. I can't remember him. I can't remember the guy's name. He's that much of a bust. He was a number 1 overall pick.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is that I think that Zion is definitely a bigger bust than Greg Oden, in my opinion. I think that the hype train around Zion for years coming into the league was just epic.
Since 2000, here are the number 1 overall picks. Kenyon Martin, not a bust. Kwame Brown, bust. Yao Ming, stud. LeBron, Dwight Howard, Andrew Bogut, Andre Bargnani. Greg Oden, bust. Derrick Rose, MVP. Blake Griffin, John Wall, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, Anthony Bennett. Anthony Bennett.
Oh, Anthony Bennett.
Anthony
yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Bust.
Yes.
Andrew Wiggins as a number 1 pick. Bust.
He's not a bust.
For them, he is.
Bro, he's an all-star, dude. He's worked out.
Well, now he is.
Yeah, I mean,
but as
I
a number 1
guess
overall
as a
pick, he was a
Timberwolf, I
bust.
guess he was a bust.
Karl Anthony Towns, Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz, bust.
Is Ben Simmons a bust?
Ben Simmons is a bust. Yeah, he is. When you're the reason that they lose and you flame, you're a bust.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about it. I don't know.
Yeah,
What do you guys think in the comments? I think Ben Simmons. I mean, he's rookie of the year every year, but he's a bust. See,
he's
Jazz
rookie of the year every year.
I'm serving it for you.
Person when he's down.
Yeah. Markelle Fultz, bust. DeAndre Ayton, not a bust, but not a number 1 overall pick. Zion Williamson, fat. Anthony
Bust.
Edwards, stud.
Fat.
Stud.
Can we get a list of number 2 overall picks?
Your mom.
Okay.
What? Your mom was number 2?
She's the biggest bust in the world's history.
She could be. I don't know, like number 2 overall picks. Let's see. Every NBA number 2 overall pick, statnews.com. All right, since 2000, Stromile Swift, bust. Tyson Chandler, stud. Jay Williams, motorcycle. Darko Milicic. Bust. Emeka Okafor, stud. Marvin Williams, stud. LaMarcus Aldridge, Kevin Durant, bust.
Next question.
Michael Beasley, weed. Hashim Thabit.
Who?
Your mom. Evan Turner, stud. Derek Williams, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, bust. Victor Oladipo, quad. Jabari Parker, bust. D'Angelo Russell, bust. Brandon Ingram.
Oh, D'Lo's not a bust.
He's not a bust. Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Marvin Bagley III, bust. Ja Morant,
stud.
James Wiseman,
Stud.
Jalen Green,
Don't know.
not yet. Keith Van Horn,
Telling
stud.
you, there's a ton of value.
Mike
at number
Bibby.
2 overall.
Stud. Steve Francis, stud. Stromile Swift. We went over those ones now. I'm telling you,
Okay.
number 2. When you go number 2 instead of going number 1, and the best thing in your life is when you go number 1 and number 2 at the same time.
Well,
I'm a man.
That was a poop joke.
all right, we got to move on.
That
We're
was
running
a-
out of time. We're
that
running
was-
out of time, dude. It's already 40 past.
Bro, that was a poop joke.
I know it was a poop joke. I get it.
That was a. I think Ben Simmons is a bust, Tanner says. Tau Unga, Anthony Bennett. Kwame Brown was not a bust. Yes, he was. And Garcia, Anthony Bennett. Thank you. Brylark says Markelle Fultz.
Yeah.
Jeremy Bolton says Alex Caruso is Cafe Rio of the NBA.
Bro.
Good, not great. Kelsey Hamer says, what's Zion's ceiling? Well, really, I'm not worried about his ceiling. I'm worried about the door jams to get. I think. See, that was come on, that was a little funny.
It was, yeah.
Zion's ceiling is NBA MVP.
Can we talk about his floor with weight? How low
Stop
could he
it.
get?
Sean Mirzinski, Kevin Love. I'd love to have Kevin Love on this team. Olivier Ruiz says, what about the comparison to Charles Barkley? He was also short for a power forward. Well, Charles Barkley, oddly enough, over the weekend did an interview about the 75th team. Mm-hmm. And he was saying when he was a rookie, he went to Moses Malone and said, hey, Moses, I'm not playing the minutes I want to be playing. Why is that?
Fat.
And he said, because you're fat and you're out of shape.
I'm a carb-eating motherfucker.
And Charles Barkley admitted he went down to his room and cried. And then Moses Malone called his room and said, hey, I'm willing to work with you, man. Let's get this done.
Get your lazy ass in the gym.
Charles Barkley's a Hall of Famer now. The Hall of Very Good. So it's interesting to me. So I think Charles Barkley is a very interesting comparison. Did you guys go to the Jazz-Laker game? No, Jake was not willing to go.
Next question.
Michael Burton says Simmons isn't a bust. He's still in the NBA. I would say a bust would be someone who doesn't play long and is out. Well, he hasn't played this entire year.
Fair point. Zion Williamson has played like 5 minutes in the NBA.
True.
That is fair.
True. Michael, he's gonna be out for the NBA, out of the NBA soon. I don't think he will be. I think he'll be a role player. He'll be Christian Laettner. He'll be a role player. Gabe Ledley says, my dudes, happy belated, Monty. Nice shoe pickups this weekend. Yeah, man, you know. So funny shoe story real quick. So when you're not at home, you're like not in your regular routine stuff.
Right.
So Jake, I was upstairs getting dressed yesterday because we were leaving to go have breakfast with a friend of mine. So Jake comes upstairs. He's like, bro, shock drop. They dropped the Jordan 6 UNC.
Right.
Get on your phone.
Yeah.
It's a sneakers app.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, shit. I can't find my phone. I can't find it. I had made the bed. Like, the room I'm staying in was perfectly clean. I ripped the bed apart trying to find it, thinking I left it under the covers.
Here's the code tenant board.
I opened all my drawers. Like, I pulled all my underwear and socks out of the underwear drawer because I'm not in a suitcase. We actually have a dresser.
And it's
Pulled
going to go into crisis lockdown mode here at the house.
I'm like looking in my pockets. It was on the nightstand.
It's really unfair.
Like out in plain view on the nightstand. So I lost like 5 minutes looking for my phone. I still won the draw. How did you do in that draw?
I didn't win it.
Suck it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So Jake,
Yeah.
Shame.
Shame. 100%. I lost.
so we are very good to each other when it comes to shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll say, hey, shock drop, bro.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, hey, bro, shock drop.
Yep.
And when I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
So I
Don't
felt
roll
bad.
out shock drops on
I
us.
felt bad you didn't win that option.
That's all right.
Or
It's all
that
right.
draw.
But see, I got
You know.
lucky though. I ran into some,
Did you get lucky last night?
I'm not talking about that. I ran into some Jordan 13s in Nike Long Beach.
You did.
So
That's
that
true.
was lucky.
Quentin Moyer says, I'm so jealous you scored the Cardinal red threes. Hell yeah, I did.
Yes.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yes.
Hell yeah, dude.
Okay.
Sorry. Tanner Plummer says, Michael Burton, by that logic, that means Kwame Brown wasn't a bust. Yeah, he was a bust.
Yeah.
A fit Ben Simmons with KD and Kyrie and Curry will be enough to win the championship.
And
I
think
totally
he can
agree with that.
resurrect his career. Honestly,
Yes.
I think he can.
All right. Now, you don't want to talk sports anymore, is what I'm
Well,
assuming.
because we're at 40 past. We got.
We got 5-7 minutes left.
Yeah. Let's get to the good stuff. Let's update the.
And now for the good stuff.
Yeah, let's update the. We'll talk
Sorry.
about the car entertainment thing tomorrow. Let's update the family story. Let's get to that because we need time to talk.
Okay,
about
so you introduced your girlfriend to the extended
that.
family.
Yes, I did.
How has that gone?
I think it's gone great. I think it's gone really well. I mean, you tell me. I mean, I think she's fit in wonderfully. I think she's done well.
Yeah, she's all right.
No.
She's done exceptionally well. But she is. This might be the one.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have you told her you love her yet?
You gotta fuck one, marry one.
You did.
No, I did not.
You said you love her.
No, I didn't.
Really?
No, I didn't.
Has she said that to you?
I had no. We have.
Have you gotten
there
close?
Yet. No.
Have you been tempted to?
No.
Yes,
we're
you
not
have.
there yet.
Really?
I promise you, we are not there yet.
You should. You
Not
gonna put a
there.
ring on it?
I haven't.
Do you
decided
buy a
yet.
ring or do you say I love you first?
What's an erection?
Well, I mean,
I'm
it
not
depends
sure.
on how the prenup negotiation goes.
Well,
You are that guy. You'd
What?
negotiate a prenup before you actually got engaged, wouldn't
All gas, no brake.
you? You would. You're that dude.
speaking of prenups.
Okay. So, we've been telling you about my beloved mother-in-law. And my mother-in-law has been a widow for 10 years. She hasn't dated at all. Like,
Right.
she hasn't, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in Hawaii over Thanksgiving with my mother-in-law.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, oh, I'm never getting married. Oh.
Yeah, my ass.
And then she's like, but I enjoy dating. I like this dude and that dude and this guy and Nick. And we're like, okay. And so I said to my mother-in-law in Hawaii, I said, hey, you know what? I understand you've been single for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you probably got to dust off the curtains and everything. We get it.
You want to?
So, you're dating now. There's nothing wrong with, after being a widow for 10 years, of going out and feeling desired.
Yeah.
And having people buy you dinner, and it's what women do anyways. They steal from men by letting us buy them dinners, and then they never put out, and we never talk to them again.
The rack attack.
It's dating, right? That's what it is. So, hey, you want to go out and feel desired? Please
Yeah,
enjoy
do
yourself.
it, do
She's
it.
like, yeah, I'll do that. It'll be fun. Not 3 fucking weeks later. Can we have a conference video call with all the kids, please? And she announces at Christmas time, we're moving in together and we're getting married. But it won't be legal. They're like girl voices killing me. But it won't be.
check it before you wreck it.
It won't be legal because
Right. It'd just be.
we have trusts and wills
no
and
documents,
money.
no,
We're
no
going to do a
paper.
ceremony.
Right.
Okay,
right,
cool. Hey,
okay.
that's great. I'm
Everybody
really
was
happy.
excited.
We're
Everyone
really
was
happy
cool.
for you guys.
Yeah.
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 And so then we come out to meet this guy. that she's going to get married to.
Right.
Oh, he's a dreamboat. Sort of. Nice enough guy. Old dude that wears like Velcro sneakers and dress socks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hey, that's not my style. I'm a Jordan 6 Carolina Blue, unlike my friend here.
You know.
But hey,
know.
you want to wear them Velcro slippers with dress socks? Go get it. He served our country. God bless you, sir.
Right.
But we had a conversation. He came over for dinner on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
Had a conversation. He said some shit I didn't like.
U.S. Americans.
I told him to fuck off. No,
Too
I didn't.
fucking bad, man.
That didn't happen. That did not happen.
I didn't. Fat Jesus says, Jake said I love you at the first sight of a nipple. Anyway. So he said some things I didn't like. I called him on it. We had a good conversation. He left feeling good.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Yeah. So, like this whole time, my mother-in-law's on a cruise. She's like, I'm going cruising with my friends.
Right.
So I'm just like, okay, all right, let's have dude over.
Buddy.
So Buddy tells us. So Buddy goes on. I knew that he was a widower.
Right.
But it turns out his wife had just died a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't come to our Super Bowl party last week because he was grieving. He didn't want to leave the house. It had just been the anniversary.
Right.
So one of the things he said that really bothered me was, we were like, tell us about your relationship. And he's like, I'm not happy she's on this cruise, but it was planned before we got together. So, but I would rather her be here holding my hand, helping me grieve.
Oh, okay.
And in my mind, I'm like, what the fuck? What? What did you say?
Yeah.
So the thing that worries me is that this guy is a widower and his wife just passed, and he wants my mother-in-law to be like the person who helps him get over that.
Are you out of your goddamn mind?
And I just feel like I'm not saying it's inappropriate, but that's not.
But is that what you should like? Is that what? That's not what
But
is
that the foundation? Like when I say, hey, is that the foundation for love and happiness and everybody loves that? And let's pound box,
yeah. I don't see it that way.
It's really not. Okay. If that was the worst thing,
you could kind of get by that. Like, you can get over it. It's fine. We all have our opinions, but that doesn't really matter.
It'd be fine.
It's all fine. It's fine.
But then we start talking about guns. He's an avid trophy hunter.
Oh, fuck.
I am not. I don't believe in killing hippopotamuses because you want to say you killed a hippopotamus.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, bro, it's your life, not mine. Knock yourself out.
Right.
So we start talking about guns.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm a gun owner. And
right.
I'm a believer in some parts of the Second Amendment.
This is fucking America.
Let's not say that it's about defending the country because fuck you, it's not. But anyway, so I say, hey, what guns and whatnot, and so we're talking about, assault rifles where people have been wiped off the face of the earth, all this shit. And he's like, well, people drive drunk, but we don't take away everybody's right to drive. Why would we take away everybody's right to mass murder with
U.S. Americans?
Bro.
And I'm just like, okay, you really don't think that's the same thing. And my wife, that's where my wife was like, wait a minute, what?
That's cute. I remember when I had my first beer.
So there's all this stuff. And by the way, he is a staunch, and I don't hate him for it. He's a staunch Republican Trump supporter.
Mm-hmm.
My mother-in-law is a liberal Democrat.
Was.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She was a liberal Democrat.
Right.
So there's all these differences.
Right.
Never mind that my mother-in-law is very well-to-do.
Mm-hmm.
She is in her 70s. Like, if this goes sideways, she's wrecked.
Vexes me.
So, of course, me being, me.
Me to me.
Me.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something. So she comes back from the cruise on Sunday night, I guess. She came over to her own house for dinner.
Right.
She
doesn't live in anymore.
She came over to her own house.
Yeah.
Because she's also, the other thing that is kind of weird about this whole thing is my mother-in-law has also said, well, he's going to die soon, so I'm just going to move back into my house when that happens.
A motherfucking.
What?
What?
Bro.
he's going to die soon, so I'll just move back in when he dies.
Sometimes I think I just say shit. Sample comes
What?
out of my mouth.
So you see what I'm saying? Like, it's not A plus B equals. Like, it's not, this isn't working.
Yeah.
This isn't working. So,
Okay.
she comes, yes.
So what are some of the comments saying? And then we're going to tell the story about this conversation.
Tanner
Sunday.
says, you guys need to drop the Tangerine Twitter machine nickname on him. I
Bro.
promise you I will do that because we're going out to dinner with them tonight. Monty, contrary to popular belief, trophy hunting helps endanger. Fuck off. I don't even want to have this conversation. Greg Hawkins says, don't need a deep or meaningful reason to date someone. If the relationship becomes much deeper, then that's a different matter. They're getting married. I don't know that it becomes much.
I'm not sure.
Speaking like deep, do you mean like deeper? Like how? Can you?
They texted.
No.
Anyway.
And
Yeah. All right.
no.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So we need those rich a-holes with a complex. Otherwise, poachers would make them extinct really quick.
Okay, seriously, we're having a conversation about relationships and how do we get into like we're not
Because
doing
I
that
said
on
I
this
don't.
damn
Yeah, I
show,
don't
dude.
believe in trophy hunting.
We're not.
I
Yeah,
don't.
I don't either, and that's the end of it. We're not reading those comments. I'm sorry.
I don't.
We're not getting into that conversation.
Fat Jesus says Monty loves hunting ass. You ain't wrong.
Facts.
Who doesn't love a good donkey?
All right, so she comes over.
she
Sunday
comes over Sunday.
She's coming home from the cruise. She's been gone for a minute. She comes home.
She's been on a cruise with her friends for a week.
Right.
Sunday. She comes home. We all have dinner. Oh, good to see you. Love you. Love you.
Right,
Good to see you. Hey,
right.
Hey, by the way, mother-in-law, how are things with Dennis? Oh, they're good. He's a dream. He's so good, and I love what he Dennis.
Yeah, next question.
I'm like, well, why? Can you just tell me real quick? Tell me what it is that you love about Dennis and this.
It's quite simple, so I don't know why motherfuckers be overcomplicating it.
And she's like, well, we arranged furniture together. It was awesome.
Good.
No, I said, why do you love him? Oh, because we agreed where we should put the couch. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I'm asking you. Okay, maybe it's too much pressure.
You probably just misheard her, right?
So I said, well, no, usually when I say to somebody like, hey, what, and it was me, my sister-in-law, my wife, myself, and Jake having this conversation. Sort of Jake.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, no, like if somebody says to me, why do I love my wife or what's so great about Mrs. Monty? I say, well, she's beautiful, beaten up. No. But no, she's beautiful. She's my best friend because we have a lot in common. We have great conversations. She supports me. I support her.
Yes. Real reason.
Yeah, beaten up. Like all the procreatorial natural stuff.
Whatever.
Yeah.
All the things that make relationships great.
Yeah.
Like she treats me well. We hold each other's hand. We support each other. We grind together. Like all this stuff.
Everything you need. Yeah.
And you said, and I said to my mother-in-law, you said it. You love this guy because you guys agreed on home decor. So I'm just curious. And she didn't really have an answer for that. And so my feeling is, and she later went on to say, I'm not getting any older and this can't really go wrong. And if it did go wrong, everything would be fine.
No.
Here's what's going to happen, Tonto.
So I said to my mother-in-law, hey, listen, look, if you're just, because you told me you were never going to get married again. She goes, well, everybody says that.
Don't you think that changes for people?
Can't you change your mind?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. I just want to make sure that you're getting married because hey, it's a good relationship for you. And
right.
And I think what it is, and we've talked about this on the show.
Yeah.
I think they don't want to end their lives alone, which I totally understand. Listen, this dude that she's going to marry is 80 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that's so troublesome is supposedly my mother-in-law is very wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
She's very well. Supposedly, this guy has more money than her.
Mm-hmm.
The house that they live in is in a trust that goes to his former wife's children when he passes. And so the thing that I worry about, hey, look, if you want to go hang with this dude and he lights your fire, cool. But let's make sure that before you go signing a marriage license, hey, we're talking to attorneys, we're getting our trusts in line, everybody's everything, everybody's cool, right?
Right. It's all laid out on paper, very clear.
And she was like, well, yeah, we're going to a lawyer together. And so I was saying things like, hey, I want you to promise me that you'll go to your own lawyer by yourself. Like, get independent legal advice about how this should be structured. Like, I'm not opposed to her marrying this guy. There's some people asking, like, what right is it of mine to say she can't get... She's not asking for permission.
Right.
But when you're in my position and when you're her children...
Right, yeah.
You have an obligation to say, hey...
Because that's the other thing, and this is what I thought was a really dynamic part of the conversation that we had the other night, which was, you know, she doesn't really have what I would call a no person, or like a no man, like a person to say, hey, by the way, you're signing a legal document. There's some stuff at risk here. We just need to make sure that boxes are checked. You know, it's not that we don't want you to marry the guy or that
not at all.
It's up to us. But damn, if we're gonna let you, you know, make a mistake. Because that's ultimately what it is. It almost has nothing to do with dude. It has everything to do with the rest of her life and making sure that she's set up for success and in a great place.
Because she's worked hard. She is in her middle 70s. She's lived a fairly good adult life. Like,
and let's be clear, she's spry. She is sharp.
Yeah, she's young. She's young. She's active. She does hula.
I mean, this is a woman who is doing great.
But companionship is clearly the hole in her life. Like,
right.
That needs to be filled. And if this guy fills that, I'm good with that. I just don't. To me, I'm a little concerned about their process.
Well, and you're not the only one. That should also be said. You're not the only one concerned. It's not like it's just
my
you
wife,
and
Mrs. Monty, who that's her mom,
right?
And Mrs. Monty's sister also feel the same way. So it's just one of these things where it's really difficult to watch my mother-in-law go through this. So when I say to her, "Hey, you know, I'm only doing this because who else is going to watch out for you? You're one-on-one with this guy in a lawyer's office." Who's got your back in that situation?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be his lawyer and him. You know, like you need your own independent legal counsel that will tell you how it is. And hey, here's how you protect your money.
All I have in this
world
is my balls and my word.
Yeah.
And I don't break them for no one.
Absolutely. So I just think you have to really, and you can't have these conversations after they sign the marriage license.
No. Well, what's the point?
And the other thing that, and I don't know what you thought, the other thing that really stood out to me is I said, I just want to know why you're getting married. Why do you need to because they told us they were not getting legally married.
So this concept is what, you know, and again, my whole role in this thing is very different. Like, I'm not her kid or anything. I'm kind of just like the guy on the sideline watching and, you know, talking about it, right? And so my perspective is that from the onset, it's never been, hey, we spent a year and I feel like a year is appropriate for where they are. We've spent a year together or whatever the case may be doing X, Y, and Z and kind of really vetting this out and just making sure that we're really serious about this because it's not the idea that they're getting married. That's not the marriage portion isn't the issue. It's the whole way that it's gone down. And this is where I think it all kind of relates together. It all flows together in a bad way or a good way. It's a matter of opinion, but think about it. You know, she's known this guy. This isn't the time they've been together, but literally known of his existence on planet Earth
2 months.
For 6 months. It's been 6 months that she's known this
him?
guy.
Really?
Yes, it's been 6 months since she's known this guy. And they've been dating for about 4 or so, like officially together, that type of thing.
Damn,
for about
it's
4.
already February.
Yeah, it's been about 6 months now.
Yes.
And so I'm not saying that you can't have a successful marriage, you know, marrying someone after 6 months. Obviously it happens, you can do it. Okay, great. But I think that what nobody wants to talk about is, hey, I have all this money, I'm in a great place, I have a great situation, and even if I'm unhappy, I get to go home with a ton of money and not a worry in the world. And
you don't want to change that.
You want to add something positive, great.
So tonight we're all going out to dinner. So tomorrow we'll have another update on this.
Yes.
But you should play the music now. You know. Okay. Anyway, my point is tonight will be interesting. Make sure you hit subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. I have to piss so bad right now. It's not even funny. Give us a thumbs up. Hit subscribe.
Oh, man.
Until tomorrow.